I brought a house that was out in Antioch that had, the tenant had like paid like they were supposed to, but they were real messy, just a real mess. Probably owed me a second deposit by the end of it. I had to repaint the house, like hole in the wall, stuff all over the fridge, cockroach infestation I didn't know about, disassembled like trampoline and other toys. So much trash in the yard. Anyway, that's kind of when I brought roaches and all when I came to PMC. In doing that, that was about October too, going right into the worst months of trying to find a tenant. And so PMC kind of worked with me through that. And it took a little bit. Just I knew it was gonna be a rough start, but I had been self-managing up to that point, and the headache just got a little too much. They made the transition real easy. I didn't have to worry about taking care of like any of the trash or anything like that. And by the time it was ready to actually have them on the market pretty quickly, and it rented by sometime in the spring. That first tenant actually had an eviction, which was one of the few evictions here. And how that all went down, it's never fun, but it went about as smoothly as it could. PMC had changed one of their policies to be more beneficial to property owners in the case that happens, but the policy wasn't enacted until after I had signed my agreement. But they decided to go on to retroactively honor it for me. Kyle called me himself. We got a chance to talk and just kind of go over things. I got a chance to really kind of express how I felt things were handled in a really positive way, in a way that just, it made me more invigorated to come and work with PMC really quickly. Right off the bat, they found me another tenant. It's been filled ever since then. All in all, I almost forget I ever had an eviction. I had, even before going to PMC, tried to set out some roach poison in a very feeble attempt, but they came in and they got it knocked out very quickly.
I started working with Property Management Connection, I think it was about 3 years ago or so. We had a rental property over in Sylvan Park. At first, I was managing the property myself. I'm a mortgage lender, so I know real estate pretty well. So I thought I could do it myself. And for the first probably year or so, it wasn't bad. But then you get new tenants in, and they start becoming demanding, and we started having kids, and they're calling you on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock that the heat's off or the plumbing's not working. And so finally I just realized that just with family, with work being busy, I didn't have enough time to manage it on my own. So we started using another management company that was referred by a client, and everything seemed good at first. It was fine, but towards the end it was just a disaster where tenants were constantly paying late. Tenants moved out. They were marketing the property, and they hadn't mowed the lawn in probably 6 or 7 months. I mean, the place just looked awful. So there was fees that they were charging that they couldn't really explain why they're charging them. Just a really bad experience. So right around that time, this is about 3 years ago, when we were trying to get new renters in there, I reached out to Kyle Feltz, who recommended me to Property Management Connection. When I met with Kyle Lemmy, what I liked about Kyle was that he's just very honest, straightforward. Just saying, this is what I think we can rent it out for. This is the work that we need to do to get it marketed, and just had a good feel about it. So that was about 3 years ago that I switched over to Property Management Connection, and it's been, I can't stress this enough, just how turnkey and seamless it's been. The tenants that we have been great. They've increased the rent since when we were doing it with the other property management company. It's an older house. It was built in 1920. The requests for repairs are very minimal relative to when I was managing the property and when the other company was. So for just someone that's busy, with family, with work, they're perfect, because get the rent when it's due, and if there is a major issue, we hear immediately, but it's rare that something comes up.
I think I've been with PMC about 4 years. Right when it first started, I was maybe the first client ever. My license or a Benchmark Real Estate, I'm an agent. Yeah, right now, I think it's just 2, but it's been up to 6. We've sold some. It just kind of keeps my plate clean of my rental properties. I don't have to take calls and emails from tenants who are having a bad day or something sadly has happened. That's why I put Trevor to work. No, yeah, I love Trevor. He's a good friend, longtime friend. I just, that was my reason for bringing on a property management group or team, just to kind of have that buffer. I've got a busy life and 2 boys and wife and job and house and rentals and some spec builds and stuff that I do, and so I stay pretty busy. I like to keep Trevor busy too.
A couple of years now, about 2 years, and we were with another property management company prior. When something would come up, we always seemed the last to know about it. I mean, I don't know how other people manage their rentals, but we're pretty engaged, and I want to be involved in the process. I want to be abreast of what's happening. Like, I want to be involved in the decision-making process and have all the facts in front of me before I make a quick decision. I want to make a smart decision. And I felt like we were always the last to know. And when we were told we had to rush to make a decision, there was some time sensitivity based on the renters that were in the place to ensure that like air conditioning got replaced or that things got done. And it just, the delays were too long. And I felt like we had to make quick decisions that for us felt uneducated on our side. Let's get the right kind of tenant in there. Let's understand what makes the right tenant. The value of your property stays, I think, longer because you got more of the right people in there living in your investment. I think that a good long-term approach and strategy, forecasting, we've been able with you guys to forecast expenditures. So I even have a monthly, like I know about what we're gonna spend monthly. I know when the gutter's gotta be cleaned. I know when the HVC is being checked and those kinds of things. So it's nice to be able to plan that as opposed to, hey, here's a bill.
For me, I live a crazy lifestyle, busy, always on the go, travel a lot, and I don't have the time to worry about the properties or things that we own or rent. And the guys here have just kind of taken over and run that kind of aspect for me. It's turnkey. The day-to-day operations are all handled for me. So just one, I think over the years, we've made a change, and within a week we had a new one, and it was just someone who had been at our properties for several years, and they had taken the next stage in their life to buying a home or whatever, but the turnover is very minimal. And the crazy thing is we closed on a property on Thursday, and I got a email from Trevor and his staff within 24 hours saying, hey, it's already been rented. And they move in, I think next week. So I never worry about that anymore. At first it was kind of, I just bought this and now who's going to rent it? But Trevor and his staff just take care of it, and I don't worry about it. I just leave it in their hands, and I can sleep good at night.
When I fired the other property management company, there was definitely work that needed to be done, and I think Kyle got it ready within about 7 days, and then they put it on the market, and it wasn't over a week, I would say, that they found someone.
Your on board taught me that there are some minimum standards that need to be put into place on the front end. That means you don't have to do that maintenance over time, or it's not like somebody repeatedly calling in because a doorknob is broken, repeatedly calling, now the doorknob's fixed and now I've got a light that doesn't work anymore. So when you guys went through and did your inspection, you highlighted everything from GFI plugs to everything else. It's almost like a home inspection. And so I think that we don't have the extra issues long-term because we had a punch list of things that had to be fixed before you guys were even willing to rent it.
I spent actually a lot of time deciding on who I was going to go with or narrowing it down. And I finally had a friend recommend me here, but it was after I had already narrowed it down to one of my top two choices is PMC. When I look at reviews, I look at reviews from both the owners and the tenants, and that's really hard to juggle both. And a lot of times you find people that have, typically if you have good reviews, you've got them from the owners, and that's great. But I want to keep the tenants happy. And I know sometimes you just can't, but for the most part, it's a really good sign if you can get good reviews from the owners and the tenants. And that was something I saw in almost nobody, but was very clear in PMC when I was hunting. And that was one of the deciding factors. When I judge reviews too, I actually do look for negative reviews because I know not every negative review is earned. Not every positive review is always earned either, but a lot of times people just get angry about something, or that person is the problem that deserves the low review and they come to you with it. And so to see how the company responds to it, judging how PMC handled those cases, it was clear they weren't just saying stuff to look good on the internet. The way they approached the problems was what I really cared about, in addition to actually having very good feedback overall.
I don't really remember what the onboarding process was like. I just known Trevor forever, and he's kind of a numbers guy, an accounting guru, and so I just gave it to him. I didn't get down into the weeds. I just baseline trust Trevor, known him forever, and he messes with me, I'll get him.
I don't want to feel like a number, I don't want to feel like just another rental. I want to know your team, and I know TJ and I know Kyle, and I've met some of your maintenance people and stuff like that. But I think that you guys have maintained a balance of growth and also making, not being afraid to pick up the phone and go, hey, Tommy, I hope everything's going good. Just want to make you aware of something, right? Instead of sometimes the impersonalness that comes with, hey, here's your monthly statement. Here's an email. You guys are good about balance of, hey, here's your monthly statement. Hey, Tommy, I just want to give you a call because we're getting ready to do this. This inspection's coming up, or this preventative maintenance, So I think you guys balance it good between your growth as an organization, because I realize we can't be the only property you manage. When we need you and when we need to talk to you on the phone, I think that's a differentiator for me, because I feel like I can always call and get somebody on the phone. And take it personal and go, let me do what's right for you. And if what's right for you right now is for me to just listen to what you have to say, then that's okay too. We're not very needy in that environment, but when we do need, I feel like we get what we need.
They want to have a relationship with you, and they care about what your needs are and stay in contact with you, and reach out from time to time. And it's just like this video. They ask them questions that what can make them better. They're always striving to be the best. And I'm not saying that the other companies aren't, but I'm not hearing from them or talking to them. And so I think these guys are doing a daily progression to make sure that they're best at what they do. I just trust Trevor, and if he says, hey, we should do this, we do it. So.
It's an easy sell to me because the accounting software and systems are good, and I appreciate being organized, and I get it once a month, review it then, ask any questions if needed, but I usually don't have to ask any questions. It's on there. But something that I can hang my hat on that I've seen over 4 years, the accounting software, it just flows, the math flows, the interest statements that you get, the 1099s at the end of the year that you get, that shows the gross income and the net proceeds too, which is very critical for accountants, my accountant, to have. As far as I'm sure others do that, but I would say PMC's is very good.
The onboard process made better sense at the end than it did at the beginning. And I'll tell you why. And that's just it's not that it was bad. I didn't understand the end and realize that there are minimum standards that really need to be in place. And I didn't really know why until we got to the end of the onboard, and I was like, okay, I get this. Like, there are protective mechanisms that you have in place that protect you guys as an organization, that protect the needs of the renter and protect the homeowner, that really kind of came fleshed out at the end, and I didn't quite understanding at the beginning. Since the onboard, those additional processes have been much more streamlined on your side, so it may have been even on my side of things going over analytical with reading this and what's this document mean and like what's this verbiage mean, right? Maybe newness or the fact that we were babies to renting kind of thing. We'd had some rental property in the past, but again, we hadn't really shifted companies and stuff. So, but I'd say overall, it was a comprehensive process. So I think that having a balance between protection of the owners, protection of you guys as an organization to establish criteria for how we manage support, here's how we do things, here's how we build things, and then also protecting the renter. I think that's invaluable. The language makes sense. Again, it's protected us as we've had a turn of renters, and every question that I asked got answered. Even from company to company, there's some standard language, but then there's also some uniqueness that I think that you guys have seen contract shortcomings in the past, that you've amended your contracts to be more comprehensive to protect everybody that's involved. And so I scrutinized those contracts pretty heavily, and in the end, we came to a good balance. I understood why we're doing it, and it's been perfect ever since.
That first tenant that they found me last year, the microwave went bad. So we juggled through the process, like finding a part. But Kyle reached out and really went the extra mile to help me decide if I wanted to handle it myself, get it on replacement, or have them do it, or have somebody come in and fix it. And it was a good example of just going that extra step for something where he specifically looked at my case and thought, I think Carter would want me to do this. It also was one of the first real interactions that I had with him or PMC after having found a tenant, and so it was a good learning experience there. And it was clear that he cared about serving my specific needs as a landlord. There's some risks I can take off. Like I mentioned, the eviction process was very easy relatively to how it would have been if it were just me on my own on a normal day-to-day basis. I don't have to think about it. If something breaks, then I don't have to answer the phone myself. I really trust PMC's judgment when they do call me. They've never annoyed me or anything like that. Really, I can't say they've ever bothered me with too many phone calls, or I felt like they're not communicating enough with them.
It's not like I felt like I was dealing with someone I didn't know. Kyle met me over at the property. We, probably spent an hour at the property. We talked through, concerns, issues, kind of, recommendations that he had. And so after that initial meeting, I felt comfortable. I felt good with him. I trusted him that, he would use his best judgment, that, he would reach out to me if something was needed.
PMC has always done well by me, taking care of me and clients, and the accounting software is good. Kyle is awesome. I think Trevor needs to give Kyle a big raise. Ricky, TJ, Eric, they're all responsive, and I think that's very critical in this business. I tell people often that property management is not the most attractive leg of real estate business. It's very difficult. It's just really hard. You're dealing with people's problems all day, every night, every holiday. Lenning and Ricky and TJ and Eric, Trevor, they've all done a good job of being responsible and on top of things.
They're still in there today. I think in this market, a month to 45 days is more than a reasonable turn time with fair market value. You guys also were able to run comps in the area and say, hey, you need to consider your place may rent for a little bit more, right? Just educating on a good balance between not taking advantage of the community, but fair market value, what you can get.
For me, Kyle, I'll get emails from him about, if something's going on with the HOA or whatever, it just kind of keeps me in the loop. I don't ever get annoying phone calls. Eric, he'll send me if there's a billing question or whatever. And if I do have a question, I just pick up the phone and call. But, 9 times out of 10, they act in my best interest.
I owed them more money than was in the account, which was no problem for me to pay it. Don't remember what it was. It was justified, but they extended the offer to basically borrow it from them or pay it off over 6 months instead of instantly. And it was like a 10% gain on the money. And I get that. And I don't mind offering that, but it felt, I don't know, the way it was presented was a chance to make money off of me. And sure, I'm a customer, I really don't mind that, but it was just a little impersonal versus PMC. Like, I want them to make money and succeed, that's great, but I don't feel like they see me as just a cash cow.
Usually, it seems like it's been usually pretty fast. I think the most recent one took a little bit longer just because the season, the rental market was just getting ready to slow down. It always does. It's a seasonal slowdown. Usually, anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, I feel like Trevor and Kyle and Eric and Ricky get at least out.
We looked at it, we went back to the renters and said, hey, we're not just trying to take your deposit money, but before you leave, you need to know there's some damage that either needs to be fixed or we're going to have to fix it when you leave. That recovery process was overall pretty easy. I felt like I didn't have a tenant walking away with damages unpaid kind of thing. And we were able to then turn that recovery of deposit, resurfacing the hardwood floors and making the place really nice for the next renter. We had an air conditioning system in a rental go bad. You guys inspected it. We replaced it immediately. You guys do preventative maintenance pretty good. Like, so you guys are doing the gutters and air conditioning filters are being changed and different things like that. I think it's proactive enough. I don't think that you can be too intrusive on the renter. They got to have their right to live. I think you got to balance it pretty well.
When I was getting tenants of my own, I remember I had a couple girls who, the littlest thing, I think there was like a squirrel up in the attic and we had to come in and remove the squirrel. They're complaining about these little bugs getting in the house. So I went to the house and couldn't see them, and she was arguing with me about just crazy things. And the thing is, when there's not that filter, when the tenant knows you directly, they feel like you're their friend, so they can just call you about stuff where when it's an actual management company, they're kind of they know they can't get away with.
One of our properties didn't allow pets, I think, or they allowed pets, but the tenants were abusing the rules in the area, and I got charged for a pet who went to the bathroom out in the common area where everybody walked, but because they weren't following the rules. But the company handled that for me, and got the renter to pay the charges instead of me. And like I said, I never have any issues with any of the properties because these guys take care of everything for me.
I can log into the portal and see the bills if it's something, a repair to the sink if need be, or a gutter cleaning, or nothing at all. I easily know how to log in and see exactly what it is that came out of my pocket, how much comes to me. It's a really easy process. I think yesterday I got the email saying the money was coming in, and it's nice to just kind of not think about it and get paid periodically.
They do a good job of kind of handling their role. And that's the management of the properties and making sure it runs well. They've done a really good job of that. You know, when big things go out like HVACs, or it's about to be the first one, I've got to change out this spring. I know about that. They do keep me in the loop on that. Refrigerators, common thing to go out, mess up, and you know, bigger things they let me know, but otherwise.
Anybody I come across that wants the advantages of the growth of Nashville and the quickly growing rental market, but don't have the time to do the active management. Because really, like, while we're a little bit more hands-on than some might be, and you have some that are just like, send me my tax information and let me know if I've got a bill over $500. I think anybody that wants the investment benefit but don't want the management benefit, your costs are negligible compared to what the fact that it's turnkey. I don't have to do anything. Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, anyone looking to turn a property into a rental, I would recommend you to every single one of those people. I feel like there's a lot of people that were in my shoes, where they had rental properties, trying to do it at first, might be going all right, but then eventually it just gets to be too much work. And so I feel like that, you know, there's, you know, people and they're kind of, you know, young to mid 30s, you know, kind of transitioning, where now they're being, you know, they've got kids. The biggest difference is the service. I mean, the other company, I would get monthly statements. There would be charges in there. I'd call the owner, would maybe get a phone call back.
Yeah, so I think there's multiple groups that I would recommend the company to. You know, if you're someone, you know, we have someone who just joined our staff that just moved into town that doesn't know the area. You know, if there's someone who's like me, you know, 10 to 15 years ago that wants to get into investing in some rental properties, it's a great thing. But just yesterday, I have a friend who's a home builder who has several properties that he owns himself, and he was looking for somebody to manage them. And, you know, I just told him that, hey, here's your guy, and, you know, set up the meeting with him today and get to work.
Yeah, I recommend you guys to whoever's asking for property management. I'm always screenshotting y'all's info and putting it on private Facebook groups with Benchmark and other realtor forums. Not just realtors either, just other friends who have rental properties too, who aren't licensed agents.
I don't know, maybe it's a little cheesy, but there's nobody that I wouldn't recommend PMC to. They've been great for me all around. I really don't have any complaints. I don't see where anybody else would have any shortcomings with them.